Comic Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pedro Taff.
I am your other host, Magical Bunny Unicorn, and we are joined today by...
Your third co-host, Bill Ogden, technically Australian Ray Gun.
Australian breakdancing Ray Gun. And, I mean, do we need to say your name 3 times?
Brian Juice.
Brian Juice. Brian Juice.
Everybody wants Brian Juice.
We got Brian White, a.k.a. Beetlejuice, a.k.a. Brian Juice.
That's right.
Which sounds horrible. It looks horrible, but it sounds maybe even worse.
Well, it's even sweeter than it sounds.
So, for those who are only listening to this show, we're doing one of our Halloween editions, second annual, one of a couple-parter. But if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, let me recommend you also check it out on YouTube so you can see these fantastic costumes that we brought today, which I'm going to go ahead and give my vote to Brian Juice. No offense, guys.
You know, I mean, it's not really a competition.
Yeah.
He's got like plants growing on it.
So if you're not following this on YouTube, you need to put your phone down immediately and find a video screen because it's really horrifyingly amazing. Step 1. Step 2, I'm keeping my ballot for now. I mean, we've got 3 more guests, right?
That's true.
I'll defer, but I'm just saying Brian Juice is way ahead.
I'm not saying Brian Juice isn't the leader in the clubhouse, seeing as how Bill's not really even trying. We're going to see the breakdancing later, I assume.
I have the entire choreography.
Okay, we're going to see the choreography later. We got Vote Pedro, which is great.
So I'm Napoleon Dynamite, not Pedro.
Sorry, I apologize.
That's right. And then Bill, I almost got that costume, and then I was telling my wife that, and she had no idea what I was talking about. So she's...
If you watch the Summer Olympics, they had breakdancing for the last time because Ray Gun from Australia scored a 0.0, and after the fact, they took breakdancing out of the Olympics. I blame her. That's why I'm dressed as her.
For anyone who hasn't watched it, I think everyone in this room would have done better than her at breakdancing.
It's a riveting routine.
Yeah.
I think it's a very tasteful routine.
What I was trying to explain to my wife was the idea was that she was so bad at it, but in her mind, she was so good at it.
She's crushing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell from her face, she thinks she's killing it. Yeah. And then the scores were just 6.
So both of you guys have some sort of dance associated with your character. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see that. And then, of course, Beetlejuice has a big dance at the end of the first Beetlejuice. Maybe you guys could do some choreography together.
Bill was like 2 years old when the first Beetlejuice came out, so he doesn't know what you're doing.
Not.
No?
Maybe not.
And then I am the same thing that I have been every year for like 10 years.
Yeah, man, it was like, Kyle's bringing his A game. You better get something good. I was like, Kyle brought the same thing he brought last year.
Yeah, the only thing that changes is I usually lose the ears. Yeah. And so I have to go scrounge through my daughter's bedroom to find, because for some reason, like, tween girls have just all sorts of costume accessories laying around.
See, you tell us that, like, you think we'd be surprised, but every time you play dress up, I assume you go to your teenage daughter's room to get clothes. That's just, I feel like that's a reasonable assumption.
Hollis and Etta, if you're listening, they're probably at home crying right now because nothing embarrasses them more than their father. But they usually have a pretty well stocked bunny ear drawer.
One last question before we talk with Brian Juice, aka Brian White. Bill, what are your complaints with the movie Napoleon Dynamite, which is everyone else's favorite, but I'm sure you hate it for some reason?
No, I think it was a low budget film that crushed the box office. I think it's it's the epitome of the American story.
Okay.
Didn't see how
Color me surprised. I'm happily surprised.
Last year, it was Forrest Gump, and then I told him that movie's about a drug addict that sexually assaults a mentally challenged person for a couple of decades and then leaves him to raise a child by himself.
Okay, well,
and that kind of just sucked all the energy out of his costume, and I was like, look it up.
To be fair, I mean, Napoleon Dynamite clearly has Asperger's, and so it's kind of making fun of people with disabilities. And then further, with Kip's character, it's got a bit of a sex trafficking undertone, don't you think?
I feel like Uncle Rico has the sex trafficking undertone.
Yeah.
He's got a van.
Yeah.
I don't want to be super woke. I'm just saying, when LaFonda travels across country in a bus to spend time with Kip, I don't know who's getting taken advantage of there, but I hope one of them was.
This is why lawyers don't have TV movie critique shows.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because they ruin everything.
it's true.
That's what we do.
All right, let's talk to Brian Juice.
Brian White and Associates is the firm.
Yes.
And where are y'all located?
We are located in Houston, here in our city, off of Buffalo Speedway, just right down the street. Actually, you could throw a rock from here and hit my office.
And anyone driving down 59 from, say, the Galleria area towards downtown can see it on your left. And you will see, it's the building you're in because your name's on the side of it.
My name is on the side of the building. That does not mean that I own the building, though.
Why did you go with words as opposed to your face? Because your face is on the billboards. Could they not accommodate your head on the side of the
I
building?
have never thought about that. That's a genius marketing plan.
I'm just saying.
I could tear it down and redo it.
So for a while, when they were building it, it just said white attorneys,
That's true.
which was, I drove by that a few times, and I was like, I hope there's more to it. And then, within a couple of days, there was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, when it was being built, there was a competitor's firm who was in the building. And so, the sign is going up over their office. In fact, I think they were doing a mediation up there. And they had to stop their mediation because it was so loud, all the drilling and everything. And they figured out that it was my sign going up, and they just went ballistic. And it completely. And then I think they moved out within maybe a few weeks or few months. They were so pissed.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so Kyle alluded to it. Your billboards can be seen all over town.
Oh, my billboards?
Oh, like crawler.
There we go. Put it right there.
Here's a
oh,
new,
nice.
Billboard for Halloween.
Would they not let you go with Brian Juice?
Well, I mean, people they just really want to see my name.
Yeah, obviously.
So
So yeah, you always have if rodeo time of year, you'll have a rodeo related ad. What are some of the other ones you've had billboard themes?
yeah, so I had every year. Of course, I do a Christmas one where very creatively I put a Santa Claus hat onto my billboard head. I during the summertime I do one for vacation. So I'm like that movie Vacation.
Yeah.
So I'm in that. What else do I do? Glory, what else do we do? Rodeo. Rodeo, where I have a really cool
Cowboy Brian.
cowboy hat on. And then also a cowboy body, because I think there was something about my body that didn't look right with the with the hat. So basically, it's my face with this little part, and everything else is like someone else.
Airbrushed.
Yeah. I think there's more too, aren't there? There's got to be more.
Anyone with some ideas for Brian can submit them or put them on our comments.
Yeah.
So now that your face is up,
Superman. I have
Oh yeah,
a Superman one also.
I've seen that one.
so now that you're up all over the town, all over the city, have you been identified in weird places where you're like, hey, you're that guy, Brian White? Because I don't know if you know this, we are a little bit famous on the podcast.
Are you?
It's happened.
I'm glad that I'm to one person. And it was
I'm so glad that I'm
none of us were there to see it.
So have you had any run-ins where people are like, hey, you're kind of famous?
Well, I don't want to brag too much.
I know you don't.
So, because but there was one time when I went to My Fit Foods across the street.
Yeah.
And when I went in, the girl said, "You're Brian White." And I said, "Well, yes, I am." And she gave me a free water bottle.
Whoa.
And she asked for your autograph on the receipt.
On the receipt.
But
yeah,
technically,
it was
still
technically
an
she
autograph.
wanted my signature. So, yes.
See?
Well, actually, I had a lady at the grocery store come up to me one time. And it was after I did a video that was a viral video. And the video got 10 million plus views. And
Was this the hottest law firm in Houston?
this was the best looking personal injury law firm in Houston, Texas.
We want to hear all about this.
Yes. Well, okay. So
You want to give us backtrack and give us some background on
yes.
this? Yeah.
My firm and I were going to go to an award thing for small businesses or something like that. So everyone was all dressed up, and we were about to leave. We got a bus to go over there, and we were going to take a picture. And I was like, okay, actually, I'm going to say something. I didn't know what to say at all, so I thought, it would be funny to do like a Ben Stiller kind of like the best looking personal injury law firm. There's a lot of qualifications there, right? The best looking personal injury law firm in Houston, Texas. And so I thought it was funny. And a lot of people very violently did not think it was funny.
I feel like it was funny. I just felt like the people were mean in the comments.
Dude, it was like, I mean, you're talking like over 80,000 comments.
If the objective of social media marketing for a law firm is to get people to talk about you, you're crushing it.
It was that. I mean, so, you know, was it a net positive? You know, I think it was.
And that was going to be my next question. Is it true that there's no such thing as bad publicity?
I mean, at the time, short term, I think it was, you know, on the harmful side. But what happens is over time, people don't remember that as much. They just remember the name. And then you can follow up with stuff that isn't as bad. But they know your name. And it's all about branding, which is they want to have your name. Like, that's the first thing they think of.
So what was people's beef? They just didn't think you guys were as
They
attractive.
didn't think that I was the best looking personal injury law firm in Houston, Texas.
There's no account.
You are not the best looking person. You know, like crazy.
There's no accounting for good taste.
They have never, to this day right now, presented any evidence that it was false.
Or that there's a more better looking personal injury.
No evidence.
Wait, nobody's claimed, nobody else is contended for that title. So
I know. So, I mean, I'm like, you know, okay, what?
truth is a defense.
Haters?
Yeah.
I hate, you know.
Yeah. Haters
Nobody
gonna hate.
hates on people
Haters gonna hate.
unless you're doing better than they are.
That's right.
That's why Kyle was the only one in the comments. Peter and I,
It was mostly just me.
we didn't say anything.
You know how long it took to create 82,000 different Twitter handles?
Yeah. He learned after the fact you can get bots for that. He was all manual.
Yeah.
So what happened was I went to the grocery store and some lady walks up to me and she says, "Oh my gosh, you were the best looking personal injury lawyer in Houston, Texas." I was like, you know, you're like, "Oh, my video?" And she's like, "Yes, I just loved it." But of course, I'm sure when she watched it at first, like everybody else, she probably hated it. But when she saw me in person, it was great. It was like oh my God, it's you. You're right here. It was awesome.
It was one that you just watched over and over again. It's like,
Yeah, it's like, why is he doing this? And why is it still posted this whole time? Why is he letting this
Is it
happen?
still up?
No. It finally came down, but it was shared, I don't know, like tens of thousands of times. So it's still out there in the ether.
In a couple billion years, when when the aliens find this planet and we've already kind of destroyed it, it's going to be in a time capsule somewhere. They're going to be like, well, we know what the hottest personal injury law firm in Houston looked like.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, look, this is what the funniest fucking thing is about this whole thing. Is it okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
good work.
Oh, yeah.
It is so funny. I go to other states to different seminars, and people from all over the country have seen this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly California, and they know this better than Houston people.
I got it sent to me from a lawyer in Georgia.
I mean, and so like they think I'm a big deal. They think I'm like crushing the entire city of Houston with advertising.
Look at you right now. It's kind of a big deal.
I mean,
Does that mean like
pretty big deal, you know. But yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So let me ask you a question, kind of piggybacking off of that. You're doing billboards, and they're all over. How much of a role do you see social media stuff playing in your overall marketing plan? And just for law firms in general?
No, I mean, obviously it's a big role, and it's growing, I believe. I don't think it's as growing as fast as it was at one point. I think we kind of missed a lot of the explosion effects that you could have, but it's still, big. I get cases, I wouldn't say every week, but probably almost every week from people that are in my comments. And I don't even have that much content right now. So it's cheap, and you get your name out there. It's like being able to have a TV show or something without having the production and everything. It's really good.
Which platform do you think you get the most cases from?
TikTok.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's like
Tommy said too.
TikTok. I mean, there's something about the algorithm where people just really trust and they like the person that they watch on that. And not only that, but I'll have people hire me that have never seen it, but they'll say that their aunt or someone saw it. Like, oh no, you got to hire this guy. So it's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Since that one super viral video, have you seen an influx in case intake?
Well, since then, yes, but it's hard to say that had anything to do with it. But our, intake from that, gosh, was that about a year and a half ago? I would say we've 3x'd our case intake since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, before that, you were doing kind of funny stuff, like kind of an office type vibe on a lot of your stuff. And you definitely had different kind of themes like that. I mean, it was all created before. You just kind of struck gold on that.
Yeah. Yes. Well, actually, I had a video before that one that went viral, and it was an office spoof, and that got 2.2 million views in like 2 or 3 months. So
Are they still up?
Yeah.
Can they find those? Are good. Anyone hadn't watched it? Which page should they go to find
that's on
stuff?
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I saw it maybe Instagram at the time. But
It probably was, but it popped off on that one the most.
and by the way, while we got you, where can they find some of this great content? What are the handles for the various social media?
Attorney Brian White is my Instagram, and my TikTok is also Attorney Brian White.
Okay, we're looking at the crowd. Is that right? Okay. Any others? Any other handles?
Well, those are the good ones, I
Are
think.
you on OnlyFans?
No, I'm not on OnlyFans. Dressed up as Beetlejuice.
Me either.
Who would do that, Peter?
Brian Juice.
So if you're listening at home, send Brian White some cases so he can stay off of OnlyFans.
So what would be okay? So you got the social media, you got the billboards. Are any other channels that you attack on the marketing side?
I mean, we do, of course, some pay-per-click advertising, which basically is like a nuclear war.
Of expense to keep up,
right? Because it's built off of a bidding platform, so people bid on a keyword or phrase, and like any market that's out there, basically it'll get bid up to the point at which it basically breaks even. So when you do pay-per-click, what you're basically doing is you're breaking even and trying to last until you get a whopper. If you think you're going to be making a bunch of money off of it, that's not how you do pay-per-click, because it's based on a market. It's just the way it's going to be.
You'd always hear that personal injury lawyers, when they're marketing, it's like the vendors that go to you, it's like, I know this is expensive, but one case will pay for it. And it's always like, yeah, but no cases won't pay for it.
Yeah. Anytime somebody says like, oh, just one case, it'll pay for itself. I'm like, that's not how it works. It's never that simple.
How long do you think, and would you be willing to lend a hand, if we want to produce Houston's most attractive personal injury podcast?
Oh, dang.
Like a short video, like maybe just us walking in a circle, loading us onto a bus.
From the production that went on in the first one, it sounds like we can do it right after this.
We could do it
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
And I think what Kyle's also asking is, hypothetically, if we were to do that, would you sue us?
Well, I am a personal injury plaintiff's attorney, so maybe.
Yeah.
I'm willing to take that heat. That's fine. I feel competent to defend that case.
Being sued's on my bucket list, so.
Oh, man, it's not as fun as it sounds.
It's not very much fun.
Ever since Amanda came into our life, it's lowered the odds of you being sued for anything you say here.
Mostly because she takes out a lot of what I say, so.
This is interesting. The most often comment that I hear from listeners, if I run into them, as I explained earlier, we're somewhat famous, is a lot of people will say, I'm so curious. You guys are always talking about what gets cut. what kind of stuff gets cut. And I'm always like, it's usually a bunch of like off-color jokes by Peter, or Bill goes off the rails. He has like a relapse of his.
And you say for $9.99 a month, you can subscribe to our OnlyFans site, and you can see all the cut.
You can see all
material.
our feet.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a good idea to do a bleeper roll, but
It's not at all.
blooper roll. But maybe we could do if you sign an NDA or something.
Well, we could just have play the clip and just mute out a chunk of it, and then we can let the comments figure out what it is that we actually said.
What was the actual word?
Yeah.
All right, Brian, a little bit of background. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I am from Texas City, very nice area.
Stingrays.
And then I lived on this very beautiful island for a while, very exotic, called Galveston.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And then I moved around a whole bunch and ended up going to A&M. Then, moved back here to Houston, got married, had kids, had 3 really awesome kids. And here I am.
And then law school.
Went to South Texas.
Any particular reason you wanted to be a lawyer, or you just couldn't find work elsewhere?
I always wanted to. When I was in high school, I had moved around a whole bunch. I have a history that, I don't know, it would be kind of depressing to talk about right now on your show. But
That's all right. We're drinking a lot.
Okay,
So you're not going to make us sadder.
Okay, so
right?
I went to 3 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 3 high schools.
Jeez.
My mom was married 6 times, and so we moved around quite a bit. And in one of those iterations, I got moved to my grandparents' house, and that's why I was in Galveston. And so I worked in the nurse's office because I knew that if I worked in there, I could get the passes to get my friends out of class.
Sure.
I had the whole thing figured out. And so one of the nurses, kind of figured out, she asked me about what have you been, wait, you went to all these different schools and stuff. And so she had a son, and she started showing me pictures of her son. And she was like, this is my son. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome, And she's like, well, this is my son's house. And it was like this awesome house. And it was like, well, that's great, lady, whatever, And he was like, this is my son's, this is weeks and weeks and weeks. This is my son's wife. And they're like pretty good looking. I'm like, wow, this actually is getting kind of interesting. Your son. This is my son's family, and I was like, wow, okay. And she was like, and he's a lawyer.
Okay.
But she did this over a period of months. But so she set up a case. And so I have to say that's 80% of the reason why I went to law school.
Huh, that's pretty crazy.
Which city A&M?
Business and production operations management, which is kind of like a manufacturing organization, which is kind of interesting because law firms kind of have a lot of processes. So you can think about what we do, in terms of processes like that. It's also art too, so it's hard to kind of mix those two things together. But there is processes.
Sure.
So that's what I did.
Nice.
And then after law school, what was the trajectory from end of law school to where you are now?
So I graduated from law school. I went to go work for a couple of firms. One was Phelps Dunbar. And when I was there, every single case that we had was a big case. Every case. I thought everyone had big cases. What I'm saying? Everyone catastrophically injured. Busby was on the other side of a bunch of our, what I'm saying? It was every case was big. And I also saw a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys getting paid a bunch of money, and I was like, golly, this looks, because some guys are really good and some guys aren't so good. And you can see what the difference is, right? And I was like, I can do better than, a bunch of these people. So I went into work on my own in about 2008. I branched off. I borrowed an office from Tyler Flood. And I actually helped him in his criminal practice while I was trying to get some cases. I didn't know what I was doing at all. But that only was like about a year. Within about a year, I had resolved, a couple of cases for 400-ish, So I had some money coming in after about a year and a half. And so after about maybe 2 or 3 years, I was making more than I ever made back then. And then by 5 years, it's just like, I think I did the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mike Strike had been at Phelps Stone Bar, different era than you, but clearly some good training there, at least.
Oh, yeah.
For you guys.
Yeah, there were actually really good, talented people there. There was also a bunch of major league jerks also, like some of the worst, insufferable people that you ever meet in your entire life.
Oh, tell us the names of a few.
Yeah, we love doxing.
Yeah, you stole Bill's line. And then Brian, when did you kind of consciously decide, all right, I'm going to take it to the next level as far as marketing and growing the firm out? What year was that, and kind of how did that come about?
It was about 3 years ago. And so, we had grown the firm. I don't know. I think at that time I had about 400 cases in the firm. And I was doing I was doing everything. It was me and maybe two other lawyers at that time, and staff. But all the questions that you get all day long about everything, and you're trying to work up your cases, which is like very hard. You have to focus on that, and then they want to ask you about how to fix the copy machine or whatever it is. And I was just being driven crazy, and I started getting angry. Really, I was just super angry because every year I would bring in a whole bunch of money. I felt like it wasn't appreciated. And I also felt like I was doing...
Appreciated by who? By your staff or your employees?
Because people always want big bonuses and all these things. You're like, motherfucker, I'm one fucking barrel of this shit. I'm busting my ass for this shit. And also fixing the copy machine, So I got real frustrated. And so around that time, I read a book called Fireproof. And Fireproof is written by an attorney, Mike Morse, who is
Detroit.
Yes, right. Awesome guy. He's a
Yeah, man. You talk about an advertiser.
dude. He's
The guy.
So he is by far the best law firm builder and advertiser of anyone in our country.
Really?
He's a genius.
Just knew him as a drinking buddy.
Genius. Genius guy. So I actually read his book within, 2 or 3 days. And then I'm in my office and I call him. And I'm like, I'm calling this guy because he was like, his book was me. I was like, every page it was like, yes, that's my problem too. Well, here's how you fix that problem. Here's another problem. Here's how you fix that. I'm like, yes.
Too good-looking, philanthropist, mind of a genius, me, also me, versed in French poetry, again, me.
But is he one of these guys who, in any interview, will he say, hey, text me or call me and I'll talk to you? Because most of these guys who are like that, they're very open to share with someone calling.
He shares everything. Oh, yeah. I mean, he has seminars. He's got like a mastermind that he does. Everything that he does is posted online. All of his advertisements, which are genius, they're all posted. You could copy anything that you want to from him. It would be kind of dumb because you're copying somebody, but you can. But he's all about sharing, but he also gets paid for that. So you have to pay him for the seminars and things like that. So. But that's what kind of started it. That wasn't the, whole thing.
Let me ask, what was his basic thesis that resonated so much with you?
Yeah. So basically, at a certain point, you're gonna have to start working on your business and not in your business, because you'll be driven crazy. So. At a certain point where you get so big that the value that you can bring to your firm and the people there is maximized by you doing what you're good at. And that usually is bringing in the cases and being sort of like the visionary.
That's what I told my partners from the time they hired me. I was like, guys, I don't need to be writing.
Yeah. I'm the idea guy.
Yeah.
I need you guys to pay somebody to read my emails and respond, and you just let me be me. And they didn't buy it. Still working on them.
It is interesting, and I think a lot of lawyers that don't own their own firm don't know this, and maybe the public doesn't either, but when you run your own law firm, like you're the full-time lawyer, full-time marketer, full-time copy repair guy.
Accounting problem thing,
Well, and then and your line of credit, and your angry clients, and your angry partners, and your angry referring lawyers, and judges, and like you have all these balls in the air, and it can just be completely and totally exhausting. I know where you're coming from, or where you were coming from 3 years ago, and I kind of joke around here. Sometimes somebody will, like an associate or a paralegal, will say, "Oh, I gotta do all this discovery responses," and I say, "Do you know what I wouldn't give to just sit alone in a room and write some discovery responses?"
Yeah.
That sounds really, really wonderful. A nice way to spend an afternoon.
I don't know about that, but at least mine, it's low mental.
Yeah. Objection. Overly broad.
You're fishing.
This is amazing. Right.
So at that point, after you get the Morse, you read the book, go to some seminars. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, so I made up my mind that let me just say too, it's very hard to step away from handling cases, right? Because we all take pride in that's what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like we kick ass. Mm-hmm. So that took me
Your moss is falling.
that took me like a year and a half just to get my head around. I'm not going to be like handling cases as much.
Did it take a lot of discipline to just say no?
Delegate.
To just say, this is not my job, this is your job, you got to figure it out?
Discipline is a way to put it. It's like people would start to ask me questions, and I would have to say, no, I'm not going to answer that question. You need to talk to, this person. Mm-hmm. And they'd think, I'm so, but they didn't understand. But I think they do now.
Yeah.
So
How many lawyers you have?
15.
Oh,
I think.
okay.
Do you have like a kind of a COO or some kind of administrative person that kind of helps? It's maybe not even a lawyer.
We have a COO kind of light. I don't think the COO spot actually for law firms is the most appropriate. Everyone's doing that right now. Mm-hmm. It's the big thing. But you'll also see a lot of times where there's a lot of people that quit because they don't like the COO. Mm-hmm. So I haven't really empowered a person to be the COO. I have an attorney that is sort of like the managing partner.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I know you just from social media, you go to, is it CRISP? Is that what the thing is?
Yeah. I mean, CRISP is the conference put on by the company CRISP that does videos in Atlanta. I guess they have one coming up pretty soon. John Morgan's going to be there and other people.
Is this the Michael Mogdil? Is that
Yes.
Yeah, I listen to his podcast. He's pretty good. Mm-hmm. So would you recommend what you're doing now? Like, obviously, young lawyer, is there a certain kind of age that you really need to be where you have enough experience to you know what you're doing? Or would you say to young lawyers, take a look at it, read these books, go to these seminars, see if that's the right thing for you?
I mean, I honestly believe that in order to be an effective and good marketer, that you have to be a good attorney, because I think people somehow can smell if it's a complete fake person. So I would say go be a good attorney first, get board certified, and then start to think about advertising.
Good. There you go.
I
Questions?
agree with everything but the board certification, just because I can't take any more tests.
Well, I mean, but it's for advertising too.
No, yeah, I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, throw your name on there.
I mean, that's a hard. I'm not board certified, but I understand it's a very vigorous. Someone told me, I was asking them, they were in ABOTA, American Board of Trial Lawyers, which I always thought that was like cream of the crop, and this person said, yeah, it is. I'm very happy to be in it, but I'm more proud of the board certification because I actually, worked and passed the tests and got the reviews. And
You gotta study, and you don't know what to study.
You don't know what to study. You just basically you pull open the CPRC and you just try to read it as many times as you can.
Oh, that's compelling reading.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but actually it wasn't that hard, honestly.
It's a much more sensual book than you remember, Kyle.
It really wasn't that hard.
I think I submitted an application to join a different state's bar. And I had to retake is it the MPRE? Is that the ethics rule?
Yeah.
Because they're only, that test is only good for 3 or 6 years or something. And so I had to retake it. And man, I was really stressed out. I passed. It was no big deal. But you're in that room and they're like, put your ID on the corner and get out your number 2 pencil. And you're like, man, this sucks. I'm so glad I don't have to do this anymore.
I wasn't stressed out even. I just read the book and, I went to the test. There was maybe one question that I didn't really know. I can't remember what it was now, but everything else,
How long is it?
Man,
Just a day?
it's a day, but I wouldn't say it was more than 4 or 5 hours. I wouldn't think.
I wasn't uncomfortable with the material.
Yeah.
I was just going back into a classroom where there's ladies walking around making sure you don't cheat on your Scantron. I was like, man, this sucks.
I do remember that the essays, that's the part where, because if you don't know what the answer is, it's really hard to BS through an essay. And I just happen to know all of them except for one. And I think on that one, I just didn't even answer. I was just, why you would put something on? I don't know what it is, so.
Okay. And then, okay, so we talked marketing. Do you do any TV, radio? Have you dabbled in that?
I'm so glad that you asked that. Where should I start? Should I start with my commercials? Yeah. Okay, so I have commercials that are out right now that I think are wonderful. But I actually just got back from New York City where we were filming an infomercial.
Okay.
Yeah. So 28 minutes of lawyer commercial all packed into one fun package.
Is it just you reading the CPRC?
Wait till you see it though. Wait till you see.
Wait, so it's 28 minutes and you just run it within there's commercials in between? You run the whole
Yes. Okay, so it's paid programming. So it's a 30-minute block, but there's 28 minutes of content that you create. And I was like, I want to do an infomercial because one, that space is cheap. It's cheap to buy it. But I was like, why don't we do an infomercial that's kind of fun, that has entertainment? So my infomercial is not going to be like any infomercial that you've ever seen before.
Is it like the training video they made Bill do when he worked at Subway for 2 weeks?
I thought it was going to be like a Miss Cleo or maybe Talk Sex with Sue,
Nice. Yeah.
So can you give us a sneak peek what it's about?
Oh, gosh. Let's just say that
Is it like Dynasty?
it's okay. So
Duck Dynasty.
I go to a studio, a very professional one, in Forum World Trade Center. It's in the NBC studios, so it's really professional. But while I'm there, I'm like, excuse me, I'm getting a call right now, and I have to go give my client a settlement check. And they're like, what? You're leaving, this interview on camera? And then I walk off. And then it cuts to here in Houston, where I'm handing a check to a client, and she walks to her car. And as she's getting in her car, the check falls onto the ground. And I see it as she starts driving off, right? So I'm like, ma'am, your check. And I'm running after her car. And as I'm running after her car, freaking ambulance pulls in and right behind her. So now I'm running, chasing the ambulance down the street, and it's all on camera. There's a helicopter that sees it, and it all goes viral before I even make it back to the studio.
Gotcha.
So I come back to the studio, very serious infomercial, and they're like, what in the world? And things like that.
Okay.
Yes.
And did you use a company to do that, or how'd you get the whole production to get set up and all that?
Yeah. I hired a marketing company. I basically feed them the ideas, and they, make the idea come to life.
You're like the Steve Jobs.
All right, here's a good question. Greatest marketing idea you've had that your staff was like, no, this is terrible. Then they wouldn't let you do it.
Greatest marketing. Oh, I don't. That's
My guess is you've got a bunch of great ideas that they're like, Brian, this is going to be weird.
Where are we going to get a hovercraft?
Right.
You know?
I don't know. What do you think? I mean,
None of them? No. Really? They're all just bangers?
Well, I was going to say, does a lot of this, do a lot of these things generate from you, from your creative mind?
So yeah. So with me, you know, I'm in your old office, and where you used to do your mediations, and we have marketing and intake. That's all that's up there, right? And so it's its own little thing. It's not even really connected to the firm all that much. So I'm in my own little headspace. And so my job is to come up with creative stuff to advertise, you know. So every day I'm coming up with things. I mean, I'm coming up with so many things that we shoot down because, like, you know, you can't do it. But
That was my question.
yeah. Well, I mean, so I'm trying to think of. There were some things that were people were like, you can't do that, and I did.
There was a period of time when I met with some marketing agencies, and like 3 in a row were like, what we're going to do is we're going to rent a plane, and we're not going to take off. We're just going to film a commercial from inside the plane. Like that was everybody's great idea for for a couple of years. Yeah. Like we're just going to pretend you have a jet. I'm like, people aren't going to see like there's no clouds in them, and they're like, no, it'll be amazing. You in a plane on the ground.
I mean, I would say, you know, really. My videos that I do, you know, sometimes we just kind of like, you can't be perfect in these videos. If you're a perfectionist, then you just won't ever get the videos out there. So, you know, I'm constantly posting advertisements that are homemade, you know, basically. But they work. I mean, because people want to see authenticity. So it's kind of a little bit cringy and kind of, you know,
it's okay.
But then people like respond to it and they call and, you know, they want to meet with you in person.
Have you made any efforts to do your homemade commercials or market yourself specifically to a Spanish-speaking market? Because, I mean, obviously in Houston, we have a ton of Spanish speakers, ton of Spanish-speaking clients. How do you tackle that?
No, it's I started to do that a couple of years ago.
What's the Spanish word for juice?
Gosh, I don't know.
Jugo?
Jugo.
I started to do that, honestly. I went to an attorney here in town before I started advertising, and I asked for referrals. There was a person who does Spanish language, and they wouldn't give me any. They didn't want to refer me any cases. So I was thinking, you know what? I'm just going to go in on, you know, Spanish. You know, I'm going to take cases away from that person but I didn't ever do it.
Okay, infomercial. Where will it be seen and when will it be seen?
Well, it's being edited right now. Where am I going to run it? I do not know that yet. You know, probably late at night. It depends on how it is. I mean, if it's really good, maybe I'll do more prime time. Maybe like Sunday at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon
on Fox.
Yeah,
or, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like Fox Business.
Oh.
Has anyone ever approached you about acting?
Well, actually, have you ever seen the show Tombstone?
No, the movie I've seen.
The movie?
Not the Tombstone.
Okay. Yeah, they were filming in Galveston.
Daddy, what are we going to do about all these cows?
There's a spin-off of it called 19... Anyways, they were the ones that were filming down in Galveston.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of.
So I was like, hey, I'm from Galveston. That'd be cool if I was like an extra on. So I figured out how to like apply for it.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I opened up an account with this casting company, put my pictures in there, and I applied for all these background roles in Galveston, you know, and I was turned down for everything. And then there were some in Austin, and I was turned down for everything. And then I get a call from them, and they're like, we want you to play a butler.
Yes. Nice. The part you were born to play.
So I got cast to play a butler in scenes with
How cool.
Buttling with
You buttled? You buttled for
But so basically there were 3 butlers, and the 2 other butlers, one was an acting coach, and the other guy had been doing this for like 30 years.
he's like a career actor.
They were both just like thespians, you know. They were like, they knew how to be a butler, you know. They had been working on it, and everyone looked great. I mean, you should see.
We will.
And they were like, and they picked me for the scenes where you actually had to do like butler work.
I feel like it's a lot of this.
You.
Wow.
I'm on this movie set, so there's a point where I'm like standing in a conference room, and there's a meeting of like dishonest businessmen, let's say, and
Such as this.
so I am the butler, and there's like the conclusion of the meeting where they're all like, we screwed over people, and then the butler has to like walk towards the camera and then do like a turn, and then he goes to the door. He has to open up the door a certain way, and then as I open the door, it's a hallway, and coming at me is a camera on a dolly with a crew coming down this hallway. So I open up the door, camera's coming at me, and I've got to like keep my composure, shut the door, don't look at the camera, look past the camera where it goes by. But it's like you're showing like the conclusion of a business meeting by the way that you shut the door, walk off.
Scene.
Yes, and I fucking nailed it. Fucking nailed it.
Did you?
I was like, right before they was doing it, they were like, "Oh my god, it's like 30 more seconds. We're gonna go." I was thinking, like, how did I put myself in this spot? Like, how did I get here?
That's still awesome.
Like, why did I do this? This is the stupidest thing I've ever. Because I thought I was just going to go to Galveston and like be in.
Where'd you film it?
It was on some studio in Austin.
Oh, okay.
Like this really like Hollywood looking set.
Oh, they're official in Austin now.
Dude, I mean,
Did you say anything awesome to like?
No, it was no. I mean, everyone.
Just
So,
like, yo, what's up?
Give me the. I'd like give you the whip.
what I
or
learned
something like
is,
that?
Like the actors, they don't really talk a lot because they're trying to stay in character.
Sure.
So in fact, like you can't like all of them have their own little bubble that they're in, and you know they'll be sitting, but really they're just like sitting there and they're like staying in their character. So if you were to talk to someone, it would be like fucking up the production.
If they do a remake of Downton Abbey, you're like one of a handful of actors that have actual on-scene butler experience.
That's right. That's right.
You got to be in the running, I would think,
I mean,
for a title role.
you know. Now, if they cut my scene, that'd be funny.
No. You're like, I nailed it. Greatest scene of all
On
time.
this podcast, but it's actually episode 7 next year.
Nice.
Was it hard to like keep your cool around like famous actors like that?
No,
No.
not at all. I mean, the Game of Thrones guy, what's his name? Bram, he was Brom, like the red hair guy, sword, kind of looks like a Scottish guy.
Okay.
Anyways,
He's one of the wildlings.
no, he was one of the hired hands. He was a hired
Gotcha.
swordsman. That guy, you know what I'm talking about? He walked straight up to me, like I'm standing there, and I'm standing next to some guys that were like, I don't know, they were like sort of like the muscle, you know, and I'm there, and he walks straight up to me, and he looks right at me, and then he turns and he walks off. And I don't know what I still
To this day.
I have no idea what he was looking at all. It wasn't like
How he liked it.
it wasn't friendly, but it wasn't unfriendly.
Yeah, no, I think if it's not friendly, it's unfriendly. I don't think there's. I don't know if there's gray area.
His character was not friendly.
Maybe he was just in full method, and he was just like that was him.
That's what I think. That's what it was.
That would kind of.
Because as he was walking down the hallway,
Did you have like a confused look back, or did you meet that energy?
no. I had a butler look the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you were.
I was.
You're not maybe
I
supposed
was
to
in
make
my
eye
character,
contact.
too. You know, I was like this. You know, and like this was between.
You were like
scenes.
towel, mint,
So
cigarette.
I was a butler, and
Did you do any training to get in the butler mindset?
YouTube videos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there
What
YouTube
kind
videos
of
on how to be a butler?
Like shows with
Okay.
butlers and
Yeah.
things like
Like
that.
a lot of like
It's like-
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
How do you stand
With Alfred?
Because like the big thing is like how do you stand as a butler and like how do you walk as a butler? That was basically.
I saw Bill Murray a couple of years ago, and I instinctively yelled out, "Cinderella story," and he turned around and he was like, I was like, that's it. That's all I needed.
Turned around and said, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, yeah.
Very creative.
Yeah, well, it was my moment in the sun.
You got it.
Thanks for crapping on us.
Sorry. You got it. You got it.
Peter, God, you're such a bully.
I think Bill Murray, though, that's a tough person to get. So if you got his respect.
I mean, he
Good job.
turned and looked and like gave me one of these, and I was
Yeah.
like,
He gave me a finger gun once, but I didn't say anything clever like
I think
that.
I saw him at the Houstonian one time.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I usually see him once a year.
Hey, what was his brother's name? Like, he's been a lot of.
He's got like
movies with him?
6 or 7 brothers.
One of his brothers is the member.
Casey?
Harry Dudes. He always plays the member guest, so that's why I see him once a year.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will say the takeaway is Brian White, whether you're a lawyer or just a person,
Or a butler.
take some chances.
Take some chances, Brian Juice.
That's true. That's right.
You know, you got to put yourself out there. I mean, who does that? Who goes out and applies for
That's awesome.
extras? Not me.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
And
I think I'm going to start trying.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do like a little production here, like a Dirty Verdict Playhouse production of something, of Little Women, probably. You could be Joe.
There's a butler in Little Women.
Well, but you know, I'm sure he's got range. You could be the father that gets killed in the Civil War, and you could get emphysema.
Clearly has range.
Do you want to give a shout out to your tailor? I'm assuming this was a custom job.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can we get this on here?
I can't read that far.
No.
CJ Duggan? EJ Duggan?
He works with Nick Lopez, but he's got his own tailor business. So CJ actually built this suit for me in probably 4 or 5 days. I was like, this is what I have to do. And he's like, well, I don't have the fabric for that. Like, so I actually had to find the fabric. I drove down to Webster and I bought fabric and I gave it to CJ like 4 days ago. And now I have this handmade, look at this, like hand stitched, the buttons holes are all this is like
It's a legit looking suit.
really nice handmade suit in 4 days.
Once you get on the set, everything's got to be stage quality.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And then how about the makeup and the hair?
Well, okay. So the hair and the makeup were done by a professional.
It looks great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no. When you walked in, I was like, "Is he?"
Are you going to use this suit for the rest of Halloween? Are you going to go to parties as Beetlejuice?
I think this is it. Probably.
Okay, I want to make sure.
I would.
You should.
I mean, I can't put this back on again. So I would have to hire her to do this again. So I think I'm going to be. This is probably it.
Weirdly enough, Bill used to have a Winona Ryder costume.
Used to.
From which
From which film?
On Wednesday night.
What's the one? The play, The Witches of Eastwick. I think.
Oh, okay. Well.
No, Reality Bites.
Oh, yeah. Filmed in Houston.
Yeah.
No. No.
You don't have that costume?
All right, Brian. So infomercial, and I think there was something else you said was coming up on the horizon. Is that it? And that's enough.
I've got some more commercials that I'm going to be making. When you do commercials, you're trying to make a brand as opposed to like a call to action. So you're trying to make things that are memorable. That's why the hammer is where he is, because people can remember that. So just like trying to like come up with things that are memorable I think I have some good stuff coming up.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, there is one thing that I just, as an observer of marketing, legal marketing, you'll see these billboards and it has all this stuff on it, but then the person doesn't, it's too much.
Yeah.
And yours does a very good job of your picture and get Brian.
That's
right. Getbrian.com.
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Okay. It does. Yeah. It says get Brian on it, but let me tell you, it took me 2 years to make my first billboard. I hired 2 different creative agencies to come up with what the brand should be on it and how it should look. And we went through so many iterations. I probably 100 different boards, and then finally I got frustrated and I did one and I hated it. And then I just did what I knew from the beginning I should have done, which is a very simple, because, when's the most important part of the billboard?
Well, it's
Your name.
yeah.
That's what you want them to remember is your name. You don't put injured real big, Brian White,
Yeah.
How do they Google injured? So I already knew exactly what to do, which is I wanted yellow on the background because it screams. And where that came from, of course, is the adult bookstore sign that's like yellow and red,
Wait, this is a bookstore where they sell books for
adults.
adults?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 50 Shades of Grey type stuff.
And I was like, okay, so screaming with the yellow, but then people, will gravitate towards a face. So I said, let's put my face in the middle of the billboard. Back then, no one was putting their face in the middle of billboards. No one in Houston was doing that. So I put my face in the middle with my name real big, Brian White, on either side. Subsequently copied by, 50% or more of the people that are in, it's very frustrating. But if you're going to do a billboard, the fewer words that you have on there, the better, if you think about it. So,
like PowerPoint presentations.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, well, guys, questions, follow up.
Learned a lot.
I have hats off to your costume.
Thank you.
It is top flight and winning until maybe the Thiessens can come unseat you. But right now, you're
By
going to
a
be
long
tough.
way.
Yeah.
By a long way.
A leader in the clubhouse. You do not have to be present to win. Your prize will be delivered. It is a bottle of Yellow Rose bourbon.
Nice.
We're about to have to buy some expensive bourbon for our Georgia friend that we lost a bet to on a football game. So we may be able to upgrade the bourbon for the winter. No offense, Kyle. Against you.
No, that's fine. I'll drink my own bourbon, you bastards.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
All right,
'cause
you're
you're going to be the one.
pick the-
You're going to be the one buying it. So
That's fair.
Bill is the only sponsor with any money. So whenever we buy costumes or cameras, we make Bill buy it, basically.
yeah, thanks, Bill.
Hey,
Bill.
Costumes.
That's what I'm here for.
I didn't have a choice.
That's what I'm here for.
Brian, thanks so much for joining us. It was awesome to have you.
Thanks for having me.
And really appreciate you going all out with the...
Yeah, and the reminder, getbrian.com,
GetBrian.com. That's right.
and then Instagram,
Attorney Brian White
same with TikTok.
and Attorney Brian White on TikTok.
Any other?
GetBrian.com.
Okay, and infomercials coming soon to a late night old time movie.
At 11 o'clock on like a Sunday.
Well, whenever it's out, if there's a YouTube version of it, we'd love to share it to our many fans.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, very good. Well, thanks, guys. If you like this, subscribe to YouTube. As we said, if you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you should probably check this out on video, YouTube. You can also go to TikTok, maybe some Instagram, Facebook. Anything else, Bill?
Oh, you nailed it. You got them all.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for joining our second annual Halloween. Thanks to Amanda Orr and Josh Ballon for producing this, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.